Hello, my Sparky friends. All right, I hope you are enjoying your week. I hope you're getting all your verses practiced and said to your leaders. All right, my friends. So last week we talked about Moses' brother Aaron. This week we're going to learn about his sister Miriam. Now, most of their story is in the book of Exodus and Deuteronomy, but our verse for today is going to come from a much later book in the Bible. We're going to jump all the way to the end of the Old Testament to a book called Micah. This verse comes way after the time of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. It was a reminder to the Israelites of what God had already done. So let's grab our Bibles. And boys and girls, we're staying in the Old Testament still, but we've been at the very beginning. We've been at the very beginning of our Bible in the Old Testament. So what we're going to do, boys and girls, we're going to find the middle, and you're going to go past the middle. And we're going to keep going. And we're going to keep going. So look, boys and girls, look how much I'm turning. So boys and girls, Micah is the very last book in the Old Testament. So if you know your New Testament books, we always start with Matthew. But boys and girls, we don't want to go all the way to Matthew. We want to go to Micah. So Micah, boys and girls, is towards the end of the Bible. Mine's right about here. We're going to the book of Micah. It's a shorter book. We're going to find chapter 6. So that means we're looking for the big number, right? We're looking for that big number 6. And then we're going to find verse 4. So we're looking for the little number 4. All right, boys and girls, let's read it together once you're ready. Micah 4, or Micah 6:4. For I brought you up from the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery. And I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. So, boys and girls, this is long after they are no longer around. This was a reminder from God to the Israelites of what he had already done. He had freed them from slavery. He had let them escape Egypt, and he had sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to lead them out of Egypt. So let's talk a little bit about them. We've learned a lot of things about Moses, right? We've had lots of stories about Moses and different things with Sunday school and other Awana years. But boys and girls, we don't hear very much about Aaron and Miriam. Now, Aaron, we talked about last week. This week, we're going to talk about Moses' big sister, Miriam. Now, before Moses was born, the king of Egypt, which is where he was born, was angry. Many new Israelite babies were being born. Why did this make the king so angry? Because he had thousands of Israelite slaves. The king was scared that too many baby boys would grow up and take over Egypt. So the king ordered that all the baby boys should be killed. A baby boy was born to Amram and Jochebed during this time. They were frightened and wanted to save him from harm. The baby was Moses. He had a big sister, Miriam, who was about 10 or 12 years old. Miriam and her mother made a little basket from reeds. They then placed the baby in the basket and put him in the Nile River because it was their only hope of keeping him safe. Even though it was dangerous, Miriam showed great courage and love for her family. She watched over her little brother as he floated down the river. She followed him as he went. The little basket floated to a place where the king's daughter was bathing. The little baby was so beautiful that the princess decided to raise the baby as her own. Miriam had to think fast. She was hiding in the bushes, but she came out. As the princess took the baby out of the water, she named him Moses. But she needed help to care for him while he was so young. So Miriam ran toward the princess and volunteered to find a nurse to take care of the baby. The princess agreed. So Miriam ran home and got Jochebed to care for her own son. So even though Moses' mother wasn't who was with him and found him, she still got to be there and take care of him, even though the princess was raising him as her son. Moses grew up to be a really strong leader. He was raised in the Pharaoh's house, but he also got to know his real family. So he got to know about what the Israelites had gone through, and he got to know their whole history. God called on him to help lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. Miriam continued to serve God by helping Moses when he was grown up. Miriam showed her trust and loyalty to God every day. God knew that he could depend on Miriam to help him and Moses with what they had to do. God showed the people that he was all powerful. God helped Moses to lead the people out of Egypt. Remember, boys and girls, this is when we talked about how Moses went to Pharaoh and asked him to let the Israelites go, and he wouldn't let them. So Moses and Aaron together had to go and try and convince Pharaoh. And when he wouldn't listen, God showed his power by making Aaron's staff turn into a snake, and then all the plagues so that Pharaoh would let them go. That was all Moses and Aaron. But Miriam was right there with them, helping them as well. When the Israelites became trapped in front of the Red Sea, when they had gotten out of Egypt, when they were getting away, and the Egyptian soldiers were coming after them, God caused the waters to part so that the Israelites could cross the river before the Egyptians could catch up with them. When the people arrived safely on the other side of the river, Miriam celebrated with worshiping God with song and dance. She took a tambourine and she played music and she sang, and all the women followed her and sang with her as she sang, "Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea." That's in Exodus 15:21, where she sings her whole song. Then the Bible also tells us that Miriam was a good follower of God, that she was a musician and a devoted servant. Miriam was an everyday, all the time servant for God. Miriam was in her 90s. 90s. That's older than probably your grandparents. That's older than my grandparents. She had spent her whole life serving God. When they crossed the Red Sea, she was in her 90s, and she had spent all of that time beforehand serving God. But Miriam, she wasn't perfect, just like we're not perfect. When the people crossed the sea into the desert, life was hard. We've talked about before, boys and girls, how the Israelites had to wander for 40 days or 40 years in the desert, and it was really hard on them. The people complained a lot. Miriam even became jealous of her brother Moses. She felt that he was being treated as more important. So Miriam spoke against her brother Moses. She said bad things about him to people to make them mad at him. But God heard her. That's because God hears everything, even our innermost thoughts. God was not pleased with Miriam, so God punished her. He allowed Miriam to get leprosy. This was an awful skin disease, which meant Miriam was an outcast. It was very contagious, and it showed up on her skin so everyone could see that she had it. Moses pleaded for God to heal her and give her another chance. God showed mercy, but first Miriam would have to suffer with the disease for 7 days and live outside the camp. But then God healed her, and she got to come back. And she got to have a second chance at serving him and doing what he asked. Even though Miriam had failed, she is still remembered as a very strong, dependable servant of God. She was helpful, caring, and faithful. God wants us to be everyday, all the time servants he can depend on, just like Miriam. That's not easy to do. Sometimes we do one nice thing and think we're done for a while. Being an everyday, all the time servant is much more than that. It's about working our hardest and giving our best, just like we talked about last week. You probably have many people in your life who are wonderful servants of God, who do what is right for Him all the time. So this week, instead of it being something I need you to do to show how much you love God, I want you to do this week is find the people in your life. Notice the ones in your circle, in your family, who are all the time servants of God. Someone who's always serving God and doing what is right. But when you find them, I want you to tell them that they're doing a good job. This is our secret mission. We all want to do what is right, but sometimes it can be hard. We get tired or we get jealous of other people, just like Miriam. When someone notices how hard we are trying, gives us a compliment, that gives us strength to keep making good choices and serving God. When you point out that someone is doing a good job, you are serving God too. So both win. It helps others to continue to serve God the way they're supposed to when we give them compliments, but it also makes us feel good. So that's my secret mission for you all this week. I want you to find people in your life that could be your Awana leader, could be your other Sparky friend, could be mom or dad or brother or sisters, your grandma or grandpa, aunt or uncle. You can tell more than one person, but I want you to tell them what a good job they're doing because we all need to hear that sometimes. We get tired, we get burnt out, but we need to keep going strong. So I want you to give them a compliment. Tell them, good job. Tell them, awesome job. Anything to show that they're doing a good job. All right, boys and girls, have a wonderful week. I will talk to you next week. Bye, friends.